Good morning. Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I'm sure by now everybody on YouTube has heard about this story involving Derrick Jaxn, a YouTuber by the name of Tasha K exposed this cheating scandal that he's involved in. Apparently he had an affair with this woman. And what I will do is post a link to Tasha K's video in the description box so that people can check it out. Also, I'll post a link to this article from Atlanta Black Star so that you can read about this whole situation. So he's been caught into this scandal. And for those people, those few people who are unfamiliar with Derrick Jaxn, he's a very successful YouTuber. He has over 1 million followers on his Instagram page. And, you know, he's a black man who provides all this relationship advice primarily targeted towards women, where he's basically pandering to women. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show his channel, you know, show you some of the videos that he talks about, topics he talks about. And, you know, so you'll get a full sense of what kind of content this guy produces for those of you who are unfamiliar with him. And then I will provide my commentary. So I'm going to start by reading some excerpts from this article from Atlanta Black Star. And this shouldn't be a long stream, but I just wanted to highlight this particular issue. Just bear with me a second. Hold on one second. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so here's the article in Atlanta Black Star. And basically it talks about Derrick Jaxn and his cheating scandal. It says highly respected social media relationship mentor Derrick Jaxn speaks out about these allegations against him about cheating. You know, it talks about how this woman by the name of Candace sat down with Tasha K, where she claimed that she had been in an affair with this social media influencer, and she claims that Derrick Jaxn flew her down to Miami, Florida for a weekend getaway in July 2020 for his birthday. And so this, you know, she did this interview and it's caught like wildfire. You know, everybody's been talking about it. And apparently Derrick Jaxn did a response video. He did a video where he was explaining the situation. And I haven't watched the video myself, but I'm really interested in hearing what you all have to say about it. But basically in the video, he addresses the allegations, you know, and he claims that he was unofficially separated from his wife back in February 2020. And he says that it was mutual. You know, he claims that, you know, that they had some problems. He says, you know, he was talking to this woman back in, you know, around his birthday. And he said that basically at that time, he had no time to be with his wife on his birthday. And he said he was in screw it mode, F it mode. He said, I'm hitting up old chicks. I really don't care at this point. I don't care about my reputation. I don't care about the business. I don't care about any of that. And then he claims that they had a sexual relationship without actually having sex. So he flew this woman, like, let me get this straight. He flew this woman down to Miami to spend some time with him. And he claims that he didn't have any sex with her. And that kind of reminds me of, you know, Bill Clinton when he was all emphatic back in the day. He said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. I mean, it's almost on that kind of level. It's laughable that this guy actually expects people to believe that he didn't actually have sex with this woman. Um, you know, and then he talks about how, you know, he invited her and, you know, several of her friends to celebrate his birthday with him. Um, you know, it talks about how Candace took photos of his feet walking around the mansion that he rented during their stay in Miami. And then he says later on, like, to get his life back on track, he eliminated things that didn't align with his values, including Candace. And without much warning, he blocked her from communicating with with him. You know, and this is what he says. He said, I never slept with her. Our relationship was sexual in nature from day one. I've been acquainted with her for 9 or 10 years or something like that. It was like through Twitter, but I did not sleep with her. I did not sleep with her or anyone for that matter because I got to get deep. You know, and he goes on to say, I'm not able to perform when I'm super stressed. You know, so he goes on and says all that kind of stuff. And apparently the video is not available on this particular article. It had a video link at the bottom, but for whatever reason, it's not showing. Maybe it's just my computer, but hopefully you'll be able to see it. So he has this cheating scandal, and then that lady Tasha K came out with another video with a, you know, from what I understand, with a second woman claiming to have an affair with this guy. And so after he did this 30-minute video on his own, explaining the situation, as I pointed out, he later did a video with his wife. And I encourage you all to check this video out. And in this video, basically, they talk about their problems. And apparently, like, just based on this discussion, you know, it sounds like this man had a cheating problem. It wasn't just this, you know, that one time when he flew this lady out to Miami and had an affair with her. In this interview with his wife, she's basically suggesting that he had many, you know, that he has several affairs. You know, that's what she suggested in this interview. She doesn't come out and outright say it, at least in the part that I watched. I watched about half of it. And, you know, she was about to say that he actually, you know, effed these women. And I'm not going to say the word for the sake of dealing with you know, issues on YouTube. But she basically said that he effed these other women, you know, and she cut herself off, you know, to prevent herself from saying stuff like that, you know, from saying that word. But basically that's what she's saying. So that contradicts his story about not having sex with these women and all that kind of stuff. And then she talks about how they had all these problems and all these issues. You know, they had a, you know, on again, off again relationship before they got married. And then they had issues in their marriage with fidelity. She talks about things that she saw, you know, images that she saw and stuff like that. And just about, you know, their relationship in their marriage and the problems in their marriage. And basically, you know, this woman is basically saying she's forgiven him, you know, she's turned to God and God has helped her overcome these issues and to deal with this stuff. And basically most of the burden is put on her in this particular interview where she's talking about what she went through and she got over it by, you know, through her faith in God and belief in God. That's how she was able to forgive him. And, you know, I don't knock people, you know, relying on religion for forgiveness and, you know, to seek forgiveness or to give forgiveness and all that kind of stuff and to move beyond a situation, you know, just on it. But I think that a lot of times what happens with, you know, some religious people, as religion becomes like a drug, you know, in the words of Karl Marx, you know, religion can become the opiate of the people. And that's basically what it seems like this woman has used religion for, to numb her pain, to ease her pain, just like a drug addict uses a needle or pipe to ease their pain and suffering. It's like she's using religion to cover up and gloss over many of the problems that they have in this relationship and stuff like that. And if this was just any man, who happened to have, affairs and stuff like that, it wouldn't even be a big deal. It wouldn't be an issue at all if it was just, some regular guy that had an affair. It would just be a personal shortcoming. It would be messed up, and that would be it. But here, this is a man who does all these videos giving women advice on relationships. He has all these videos on here, telling women about what they need to be looking for in a man, telling them like what are signs that a man is not the right man for them and all that kind of stuff. All of this information that he's providing to women about how to basically know the games that men play and to understand how to deal with men. So I'm just going to read off a couple of the titles to some of his videos. And I don't watch his content. Like, the only time I really see his content is when some woman on my Facebook page, occasionally posts his stuff. So he has videos like how to spoil a woman who values you. When a real man loves you, it looks like this. you know, 6 ways he will avoid accountability. This is the kind of stuff that this man talks about. 3 signs he will never change. Why he gave his new girlfriend everything you wanted. I guess that's big. Let's see. Why he gave his girlfriend everything you deserved. You can't change his character. So it's all these videos that pander to women. And a lot of times, like, a lot of women looked up to this guy as some kind of role model, as some kind of sage with great, some kind of guru, relationship guru, some kind of expert that just knows everything about relationships. They literally look at him that way. And they look at, they use him as like the measuring stick for what a man should be and, what a man should do and all that kind of stuff. That's what makes this whole situation very comical. That's why people are talking about it. Because it's another example of blatant hypocrisy. Here you are talking about, a good man, what a woman should be seeking in a man and how to avoid a bad man and, the qualities of a good man and all that kind of stuff. He's giving you all this relationship advice when his relationship was in shambles. He's giving you all this relationship advice about, avoiding toxic men when he was and probably still is a toxic man, having affair after affair after affair on his wife. When he's talking all this stuff, doing all these videos about relationships, and he's just exposed as a hypocrite. And this brings me to the point of YouTube and the importance of authenticity. I mean, you have to be real on YouTube. You have to be authentic. You should be your authentic self, your real self on YouTube. Instead, you have people that get on YouTube and they are literally performing for the people. Just like an actor in a movie or an actor in a play, they're taking on a role, they're playing the role of some character that they are not really in real life. And that's what you have with this person, giving you all this relationship advice, talking all this stuff about and presenting this image that he's some kind of wholesome, good black man. He's the example of what manhood looks like and all that kind of stuff. And here he is cheating on all these women I mean, cheating with all these women on his wife. Again, it's an example of hypocrisy. And the thing is, like, how in the hell are you getting relationship advice from a man who by his own life is showing that he really doesn't know about relationships? Or, I mean, you would think that if somebody is such a relationship guru, that they would have solid relationships. They would have a solid marriage or a solid relationship with their significant other. And the fact that this man's relationship, his marriage was in shambles is just an example of how he didn't live up to what he talked about. It's an example of him showing and proving that, you know, either he didn't know what he was talking about when it comes to this relationship, or he didn't fulfill the things that he preached. You know, much like a pastor or something preaching against homosexuality and practicing homosexuality, speaking out against adultery and practicing adultery, speaking out against stealing and all that kind of stuff while stealing the money of the poor to enrich their pockets. This is just another example of that. It's another example of like these pastors that get caught up in scandals. Because for all intents and purposes, this guy is like a pastor to his congregation, you know, preaching this gospel of, you know, relationship knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And he doesn't even manifest the knowledge that he claims to have. So this, you know, this is just exposure. Like, this exposes the fraud. And, you know, they always say, you know, all things will come to light. And that's what has happened with this. This sham has been exposed. You know, and, you know, a lot of men didn't like the advice that he would put out, because he would make men look bad. He would make it seem like, you know, the average brother is not measuring up and doing the right things and stuff like that. And they even had like memes on on Facebook and stuff like that that said, if your woman is listening to this guy, your relationship is not going to last long. And, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But this situation is just so ironic. You know, it's just another example of hypocrisy. Just like you got examples of all these people that talk all this black power stuff, and then, you know, while they're talking black, they're sleeping white. You know, just like while this man is talking about functional relationships and the qualities of a good black man or a good man, period, he's not manifesting those qualities. And this whole thing brings me to, you know, this issue of marriage and celebrity. You know, I can understand like how he probably came under great pressure. You know, here he is, a famous man, you know, a rich man and stuff like that. Anytime somebody has that kind of status, you know, and, you know, a lot of women are attracted to you and stuff like that, your temptation is going to be greater. You know, obviously you're going to be tempted more. You know, if you got women throwing themselves at you, you know, constantly complimenting you and trying to be with you, then it's more likely that you will end up betraying your relationships. And that's basically what happened in this situation. It seems like, you know, if somebody is about that life, if they're about being single and dating and being with multiple people, then they shouldn't be married. You know, that's the first thing. You know, I don't think somebody should get married if they know going in that that's the kind of person that they are. You know, they shouldn't be putting on a charade and stuff like that. And they damn sure shouldn't be giving you advice about like how to be a good man when they're not a good man themselves, or giving women advice about what to look for in a man and how to get a quality man, and they're not even a quality person. It's like, why would somebody go to a person like this for relationship advice? Like, for instance, like, would you go to somebody for fitness advice if they weren't in shape, or go to somebody about fashion advice if they, you know, didn't dress fashionable and stuff like that, or go to some, you know, somebody to treat you with, if you have some kind of medical condition, if they're a horrible doctor, or they didn't get their licenses and all that kind of stuff, or they've been sued multiple times for medical malpractice. So that's the question. And I don't think, that this will hurt him much. I think that women will continue to be subscribed to his channel. They will continue to consume his content. And the reason why they will continue to consume his content is, just because of like charisma. A lot of women are attracted to him, so he could be saying anything. And I'm sure that a lot of these women would continue to follow him. And a lot of times people will, they will separate the video content from the content creator himself, so they will say, okay, he still is providing good advice, even though he's having these issues in his personal life. So yeah, so I think that more likely than not, he will recover from this controversy, just like so many of these other people have, like so many of these other YouTubers who've had various controversies. They still have recovered and they're still doing well. You had the example of Phil from the Advice Show, exposed for being married to some white Hispanic after talking all this pro-black nonsense. Turns out he was another hypocrite, but he's doing fine. You got people like Tommy Sotomayor, who's been exposed time and time again for this and that, but he's doing well because it becomes like a cult of personality. People like who they follow who they follow, and that's what's going to happen here. And, a lot of times, people will call, a person like Derrick Jaxn, they'll say, oh, he's a simp and all that kind of stuff. But in all actuality, it's people like him who are not really simps. Really, this guy is literally like a pimp. He's pimping these women and their insecurities and their relationship issues to cash out. He's presenting this image as if he's the kind of man that panders to women and all that kind of stuff, when he is literally a womanizer, man. And you had that a lot on here. Like you had these guys, for instance, that talk all this stuff about the black woman as God, but these are the ones that are the players, man. They got like multiple quote unquote wives, multiple girlfriends, while they talk all this the black woman is God rhetoric. They say the things that women need to hear, just like a pimp, in order to get stuff out of them, in order to be with them and all that kind of stuff. And this is another example of that. It's just sickening, man. It's just sickening to see, another example of blatant hypocrisy. So I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go on too long, but yeah, I mean, he's going to be fine. Shout out to Psycho. I see you in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, they're not going to stop supporting him. He will be just fine. People are going to be talking about this little controversy for a minute, but they'll be sharing his stuff again on Facebook, especially after this interview with his wife. I'm sure people are going to say, well, his wife forgave him, so, it's between him and his wife. So, since his wife doesn't care about it, since she's moved on, I can move on and, continue to support this guy. And that's probably what will happen. So he doesn't have anything to worry about. It's just the hypocrisy of this whole thing, man. It's like you really can't take a lot of these people here on YouTube seriously, unfortunately. I mean, time and time again, you have so many people that are exposed for their hypocrisy. And my thing is, just keep it real. Just be your real self here on YouTube. Don't put on a show. Don't be somebody you're not. Don't try to pretend like you're a guru in a subject where you're not even living like that. That's like me getting on here, preaching all this holy stuff while I'm living foul and stuff. I can't do, I'm not going to be on here preaching and telling somebody how to live if I'm not living like that. So yeah, so that's what I have to say about that. I'm really interested in hearing from you all. Like, what do you all think about this controversy? Again, shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Def Rocker. Shout out to Psycho. Shout out to Esoteric Therapist. Yeah, so Esoteric Therapist pointed out how the black community has always been a community that's forgiven its people. Yeah, that's true. Especially in this situation, like, you know, when you have his wife come out and, you know, she's talking about how she forgave him and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I mean, we've seen example after example where these pastors, as I mentioned before, are forgiven by their congregation after doing all kinds of grimy stuff. I mean, you got the situation with Jamal Bryan, you know, multiple affairs and all that kind of stuff. Uh, you know, women having abortions and stuff like that, or being asked to get an abortion, you know, all that kind of stuff, all that kind of grimy stuff. You got Eddie Long molesting boys in his congregation and stuff like that, all this kind of sick stuff, but we continue to forgive these people. And, you know, as Psycho pointed out in his live stream that I saw the other day, you know, this is not the first controversy involving Derrick Jaxn. Like, after talking all this stuff about toxic men and giving women advice and talking about how a woman deserves this and that, this man, you know, in comments and, you know, in messages between him and women, he was very disrespectful to those women. And what I'll do is I'll post a link to Psycho's live stream in the the chat, is not in the chat, but in the description box, so that you can check that out, where he goes into detail about this history and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just people are quick to forgive. So, you know, I'm sure people are going to forgive him for this whole thing as well. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings. You know, tell me what you all think about this controversy. Do you buy his story where he said he didn't have sex with this woman? They just had a quote unquote sexual relationship. What do you think about the interview with him and his wife? And there's some very funny memes. And what I may do is use one of those as the thumbnail for this particular video. There's this one meme of the interview that Derrick Jaxn does with his wife, where they basically depict his wife as like a ventriloquist dummy and him as the puppet master, man. It's just hilarious. They got all these things. Like, there's this one meme where you know, like where they use Scooby Doo, you know, like, and I don't know how old you, like, a lot of the people are in the audience, but there was this cartoon Scooby Doo, and in every issue or every episode, there was like some kind of mystery. And so whenever they would catch the bad guy, they would pull off the mask of the bad guy. And so they had this meme where they pull off Derrick Jaxn's mask, you know, and they expose that the person under the mask is Future. And we know that Future, you know, the rap artist Future, has been labeled as the example of a quote unquote bad boy, as the so-called toxic black male and all that kind of stuff. He's one of these ladies' men with 100 baby mamas and all that kind of stuff. So they're basically saying that this guy, Derrick Jaxn, despite putting on these airs and putting on this fake persona and this mask of, you know, of wholesomeness, at the end of the day, he's just another grimy Negro, Negro male, like your boy Future. But anyway, you know, I want to thank y'all for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings. And I may do a follow-up to this where I go into more detail, but I'll be back with you. Peace and blessings. Have a great day.